The year has just started, and already here we are. We have our first big headline. But just like in 2020, Donald Trump has decided to start our year off with an attack on a different country. This time, in 2020 it was Iran with the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, and this time it is Venezuela. So on the third, very late into the night on the second, early in the morning of the third, Donald Trump authorized an action to kidnap the president of Venezuela and his wife, Nicolas Maduro, on supposed drug trafficking charges. Um, since this attack, there's been a sort of I've been reading lots of articles about the situation and trying to gauge how the political how political media is responding to this strike. It is really troubling. It's troubling because there is not a recognition of what this really is. Donald Trump represents the unmasking of the savage beast at the heart of America and at the heart of American relations with the entire world. America has always been a mafia country. I could use stronger language, but it's been America. Yeah, it's mafia. You don't do what I want you to do, you're gonna find out why you actually do want to do what I want you to do. That is how America's function. The difference between before Obama and now is that before, when presidents wanted to impose America's will on other countries, they tried to do it in a way that gave plausible deniability. No, 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 no. We are not invading Iraq and stealing their resources and destroying their. No, we're bringing democracy. You have to understand, right? That's the distinction. Donald Trump doesn't care about that. And that's actually really powerful. And that's something that I don't think liberals understand is so powerful because liberals, I mean, ultimately it aligns with liberal foreign policy as well. Liberal foreign policy, Donald Trump foreign policy, same thing, different packaging. Therefore, when Donald Trump rushes through and it just kind of forces his way through all of these conflicts, that is actually what the liberals wish they could do, but they don't know how. Whereas Donald Trump just says, I'm going to do it, and nothing's going to happen because we're America. The main thing that the coverage of this attack on Venezuela has featured is, well, Nicolas Maduro is a brutal dictator and hyperinflation and destroyed the economy, and his people hate him and they're actually celebrating and caused an immigration crisis. Many of these things are true, but what we are missing in this picture is why those things are true. Maduro is not a good leader. That's a true thing. Additionally, the most powerful country on this planet made it very, very, very difficult for Maduro to be a good leader. Now, you cannot say at the same time that Maduro is a bad leader, therefore we should remove him, without also saying we should not make him a bad leader. Because all you're doing, if you say that both of these things can be true, that we can make Maduro the bad leader, and we can also use the fact that he's a bad leader as a pretext to remove him, is that you're saying we can do what we want. And that is the reality of American foreign policy. Now, this is not as concerning to me for the in the context of Venezuela itself. Venezuela has needed new leadership for a while, and given the way that Donald Trump removed Maduro, I do imagine the Venezuelan people to be capable of having better leadership than Maduro. Hopefully, not like some like freaky right wing guy. Hopefully they don't get like a Malay or anything like that. But it really is a dice roll, and I think it would have been a dice roll even outside of the strike because Maduro has to leave power at some point, and if he wants to die in office, someone's gonna kill him at some point. Anyways, we don't have to get into that. Hold on, let me catch my train of thought. Yeah, Maduro. Um, yeah, he was gonna go at some point. That being said, what is concerning is the idea that it is okay to remove dictators, people who aren't democratic, because we're not a democratic country. We have no right to impose our will on other countries, and to the extent that we do so, we are only imposing our will on other countries. We're not bringing them democracy. We are not bringing them freedom. We're not doing any of those things. And so these narratives need to die. I think they're going to have a lot less oxygen in this new environment where Trump doesn't care about these sorts of pretexts. He's like, well, I want the oil, drug trafficking, whatever. He'll just throw something out there. Hopefully, we don't have to deal with this whole, oh, well, they're not a democracy, therefore we should overthrow them sort of thing in the future. But to end that off, the thing that I think this really indicates is that the American foreign policy, like I said, Donald Trump is masked off. He's ready. He's doing whatever. The liberal international order, this thing that we held up as, this is basically the response to World War II. This is how the West justifies its global domination. They say, well, listen, after this horrible thing that happened in Europe, we said we could never let things like this happen again. Oh God, never, 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 never. Now, what they forgot to publicize to everyone else is what they meant was that we can never let this happen in Europe. We will never let this happen to Europeans. And even then, they didn't really mean it that much. Okay, because at the end of the day, These people care about their money and their power, influence. That's what politics has always been about. Might makes right. Law of the jungle. That's where we are. That's where we will always be. That's why European leaders who could very simply say, hey, well, listen, I don't think you should overthrow countries' leaders because that's like not, that's a violation of their sovereignty. I think maybe if you are going to try to pressure a country's leader, if you do want to advocate for the Venezuelan people, we can figure out ways that the international community can make some sorts of changes happen. But we can't just go and say, let's do military operations, right? But no European countries are doing this because they do not care. And they don't care because it's in their interest, right? And that is the more concerning thing about this strike on Venezuela. We saw already in the summer with the attack on Iran, at the nuclear enrichment sites, that European leaders are willing to, hit a little bit of a oh no, we didn't. Oh God, what was that over there? When the U.S. Is behaving in this way, in this extremely belligerent, violent, chaotic way, and after Venezuela, we have more targets on the U.S. hit list, right? You have Iran. Iran is the crown jewel, basically, of this project. If this administration is able to topple the Iranian regime, then they will have run basically. I mean, it's like a speed run of foreign policy for hundreds of years, but especially in the last 100 or so, we've had these foreign policy goals, we've had these desires, we've had alignments and realignments. But since 1979, since Iran had its revolution and the Ayatollah has been in charge, that dynamic between Iran and other countries has been the main thing we've been trying to get rid of, which is why Saddam Hussein was toppled. Not because Saddam Hussein was friendly to Iran, but because controlling Iraq directly was better than allowing Saddam Hussein, who was an enemy of Iran, but also an enemy of America, to be in charge. So the issue, really, for young people like myself, is that this is not going to end. This is not going to end. So as many people as I see going, oh, well, the Venezuelans are celebrating, you don't know anything, and actually people, this is freedom, you need to, another perspective. No. It's bad to overthrow another country's leader, period. Now, if we're going to look for countries whose leaders should be overthrown, I think we can actually find arguments for that. I think we can figure it out. We can say, okay, look, maybe there's a country somewhere that keeps expanding its borders, and as they expand their borders, they engage in military campaigns where they murder, slaughter tens and tens and tens and tens, and you probably don't have to stop saying tens for a while, of thousands of people. Maybe that country should have its leader removed. I don't know. That's just the thought. But yeah, this isn't stopping anytime soon. I think Cuba's going to be next because Venezuela and Cuba have a relationship. It's very important. Cuba doesn't have the ability to trade with as many people or as many nations as most other countries do due to the embargo placed in the 1960s to try to destroy Cuba that is still in place. So we are all the way in the jungle. And I guess it's fitting that it's raining out here in California for the beginning of our year because we're living in a world on terms that are different than the world that we used to live in. And I really do hope that liberals start to understand this because liberals are the reason that we can't do anything about it. But yep, that's all I've got.